All right, so here we'll kind of run through our setup wizard for the RCM rate control module. This will come from the factory already configured, but we want to touch on it just so you guys are familiar with it a little bit. So this will be the first page of our setup wizard. You'll enter your profile name or the machine name, however you want to name that. The machine type, you'll select pull behind spreader from the drop down menu. Application width will get entered next. 30 feet seems to be about the right spread width. Do note that over here you can change these units from feet to inches, so just be cognizant of that. For all intents and purposes, they'll remain at feet. From there, you page over on the bottom. ECU number will remain at 1, as well as the number of products will also remain as 1. On the setup fan and spinner RPM page, we'll place a 1 here. This is to indicate that we do have 1 sensor on the system that we're using to monitor the PTO shaft RPM. We do not control the fan or spinner in this scenario, so leave that box unchecked. Our application type is going to be granular fertilizer. We'll select dry manure and litter from the product 1 granular application list. On this configuration, none of our auxiliary drivers are used, so ensure that none of them are assigned. This is just a quick summary of our application width. On the scale setup tab, select product scale from the drop down, and then ensure that we check the box next to product scale 1 to assign it to product 1. Our manufacturer scale cal number, you can go ahead and enter that in this field, 80,000 in this case. This is just kind of this is a base starting point. We do recommend that you verify the scale once you guys receive the unit. There may need to be tweaks made to that value. We'll touch on it a little bit later, how you can actually adjust your scale value. Our RPM1 calibration will get set to 1, as there's only 1 pickup on the shaft that the sensor will read. Our RPM low will get set to 800 with the alarm checked, and our RPM high will get set to 1200 with the alarm checked. To note, those are the recommended values, and if you get outside of those values with the alarms checked, the system will alarm you that you are above or below the recommended RPM range. RPM 1 sensor, product 1, put a check mark into that. That will assign the sensor to product 1, so we will not allow the system to apply if the PTO shaft is not spinning. Product 1 granular control valve config will run as PWM closed. The valve response defaults to 50. Deadband defaults to 2. We will leave a 0 in for valve delay, and enable smart PWM control will remain unchecked. Our coil frequency for this unit is 100. The cartridge type that's on here, that's the preferred hertz, so we'll leave that there. PWM high can remain at 100. Our PWM low limit, we usually like to start at 20 and with a startup of 25. We'll set our product density, our initial product density, to 60. If you guys know for sure what your density is, go ahead and adjust that value so that it's closer, so that the system doesn't have to make as many adjustments to get it where it needs to be. pulses per revolution are 942. We'll go ahead and check the box to enable gate height monitoring. Enter the max spreader constant, and then enter the max gate height for the box. There is a difference between the X7 and the X900 boxes, so reference the quick start guide if you've got a X700 box. These values are for the 900. Enter your tank capacity and then a low tank setting. This is user settable. It's recommended to set your low tank setting to what you have your clean out mode set to, and then also enable the alarm. This will just alert the end user when the system is actually going into clean out mode. We'll dive into each specific litter manure feature here shortly. Low bin level sensor will remain unchecked. For your rate setups, you need to enter at least one preset rate. I've entered 3 here. These can be adjusted outside of the wizard. Rate bump, if you do want to run a rate bump instead of a predefined, you can enter a rate bump here. If you do want to utilize a rate bump, you also need to change this drop down from predefined to rate bump. Display smoothing will remain checked and decimal shift will remain at 0. Off rate percentage will remain at 20. That's the default value with the alarm on. And this shaft sensor alarm will remain unchecked. From there, it'll bring you to the overall setup summary. Review that. If everything looks good, go ahead and page over. The ECU may fall offline when it resets after the wizard is completed, so don't be alarmed at that. Then once it comes back here, we'll jump into the UT stuff and expand on the run page and what each feature there represents and its functionality. One other thing we want to touch on here too is how to apply software updates to the Raven RCM ECU in the event we have to update software on a unit. First off, you'll acquire the hex file. You can do this either through a USB, or if you are connected via Slingshot, you can do remote updates. However, today we're going to do the USB one. So with the USB installed in the back of the CR7, I'm going to go to your File Manager tab. From the drop down, we'll select our USB. Select the software version that we want to copy to the CR7 display, and then copy that over. Accept. Once you have the hex file copied over to the CR7 itself, you can remove the thumb drive from the field computer. We'll check out of here, then we'll migrate over to Software Update tab. On the Software Update tab, we'll go to Hardware. We'll select our Raven Rate Control module. And then from the available software versions in the drop-down, we'll select the software version that we just copied onto our CR7 display, and then hit Start Update. It is a rather large file, so it does take roughly 10 minutes to actually do the update. But you will get a progress bar in the lower right side of the screen as the update progresses. So the first thing we'll want to kind of walk through here, once you get the object pool or get the system powered up and you want to go to view your object pool, on the CR7 you'll notice the UT tab down here in the lower left hand corner. We'll touch on that. That'll bring you to, this is what we call your object pool, your working set. This will come from the factory already set up, but we do want to go through kind of an initial setup just for some clarity on it. So the setup wizard, once in it, you have to complete all necessary steps before you can fully complete the setup wizard, which is nice because it doesn't allow you to miss a important value essentially. So we'll step through this real fast. So profile name, enter the name of your machine or whichever you choose. Today we're just going to do demo. And then your machine type. We'll go to pull behind spreader. Enter your application width. Two ways you can do it. It defaults to feet. You can change that to inches. Just be cognizant of which one you're entering. So we'll put 30 feet in here. And then down at the bottom of the screen, it just tells you which software version you're on and the ECU serial number. From there, we'll page over. So the ECU number will remain at 1, and then the number of products will also remain at 1. Go ahead and page over. This is where we'll set up our RPM shaft sensor. So we've got one of them mounted on the front of the spreader to monitor shaft rotation. We do not control the fan or spinner in this scenario, so don't check that box. Your application type is going to be granular fertilizer. Product 1 granular. We're going to go down to the bottom and select dry manure litter. Currently, we don't utilize any of the aux driver functionality on this particular application, so leave all of those aux driver assignments set to none. We'd also like to kind of review quick, if you do need to adjust your scale calibration, go ahead and go to the Gears tab, Tools tab at the top will bring you to your system settings. Then you'll go to your Scale Setup tab here. Go to Scale Calibration. So we'll want to verify the unit with a known weight. Obviously, the more weight a guy can put in there, the better scale curve you're going to get, which makes the scale more accurate, which is important when it comes to the dynamic cal side of this and how we utilize the scale to adjust our product density. So the easiest way to do it is if you've got a large amount of known weight, apply that to the box and then record what the scale is reading. So say we know we put 15,000 pounds in there, but our scale reading was only reading 12.5. We would put that 12.5 into our previous box and then our 15,000 into our actual box and hit calibrate. This will automatically readjust the scale slope to update this, the scale settings.